What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. This is the channel where we sit down and cover different comic book stories from different comic book companies. Today, we're going to jump back over to Marvel Comics and continue our coverage over Ed Brubaker's run on Daredevil. This time, we pick up with Cruel and Unusual. This is just a book that Ed Brubaker did that doesn't really move his overall plot forward. It was really to give us a moment to see Matt Murdock happy before Ed Brubaker brings him back down all over again. But anyways, if you do like today's comic book video, please hit that like button down below and also subscribe to the channel for more content to come in the near future. Also, any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestions could be a future video down the road. But I do hope you enjoy today's video. In the beginning of this book, we pick up with Ben Yurich, who is a reporter. At this point in Marvel Comics, Ben Yurich had left the Daily Bugle and formed his own paper, someone who actually reports real news and is not really biased to what the publisher is trying to push in the minds of its readers. Except when one of the reporters comes to Ben's office, he is asking Ben if they can publish a story that basically talks about Matt Murdock and Milia's situation. Remember, in our last video, Milia got put into a mental institution because the fear toxin from Mr. Fear messed with her mind so much. Since the world still thinks that Matt is Daredevil, even though Matt has tried multiple times to make the world forget that in different ways, either way, this guy wants to publish another story, except Ben says no because Matt Murdock is his friend, which goes against what his paper stands for, which is called Frontline. Supposed to be a paper that is not biased by the publisher, but he is kind of being biased when it comes to a story about his friend. Also, there have been reports that Daredevil has been more violent lately when he is out there beating up thugs. More bones are being broken, and this is actually worrying Ben Yurich when it comes to Daredevil, because maybe the situation with Milia is messing up with Matt's mind, since it is his fault that she is in a mental institution. We continue that trend with Foggy Nelson, the best friend of Matt Murdock, and also a partner at Matt Murdock's law firm office. When he goes to check up on Matt at his house, of course, Matt is just coming back from being Daredevil for the night, which makes Foggy concerned if Matt is getting any rest or not, spending the night out in Hell's Kitchen as Daredevil. Of course, Matt doesn't want to listen to his friend or receive help from his friend with this current situation that he is in right now. We do get to see a couple pages that show how badly Daredevil has become when he is beating up some random thugs. To me, the art doesn't really show it, but we are supposed to imagine that he's out there beating up bad guys worse than usual. Except we have seen some art where he is beating someone down and he is not really having a hard time. Another set of pages show us that Foggy Nelson is meeting up with Ben Yurich since they are both close friends of Matt. Ben Yurich is asking if there has been any changes with Matt. Is he getting better? Of course, Foggy tells Ben that he is not getting better at all. So this begins the both of them thinking that they can find a way to help Matt out to get out of this funk that he is in. Except things get worse for Matt when he goes to the mental institution to see Milia's doctor, and the doctor there tells him that it would be better if he does not come around anymore. Every time he comes around, apparently he always undoes every single work that was done to improve Milia's current situation. So it is the doctor thinking that it will be better if he stays away for a couple weeks to give her some major improvement improvements. This does make Matt upset because now he is being told he can't even see his own wife. But you have Dakota North. She is this private investigator that has been around for a while in our Daredevil videos, thinking that it would be best to give Matt some drinks to help him get over this. We all know that is a bad reason or a bad idea to use to help someone like Matt Murdock. So we see them go to a bar. Of course, Matt is spilling out his guts to Dakota North, and she tries to help him get through this by talking to him and buying multiple rounds of drinks, which then leads to him going to buy another round because he feels bad that she is buying all of the drinks. Except when he goes up there to buy drinks, well, he gets in a bar fight because he overhears that two guys were planning a robbery. Since he is still this more brutal Daredevil, he beats these guys so badly that Dakota North has to grab him and get out of there before a picture is taken and the cops are called. You have a moment where Dakota North reflects on the life of Matt Murdock, how he had multiple times in his life when he has reached this low point in life. The one example that she used is when he was the kingpin for a year, which of course took place in Brian Michael Bendis' run on Daredevil. Except while she is thinking about that and also trying to think how she can help him, Matt just takes off his clothes to be in his Daredevil outfit so that he can go out and beat up crime once again, which continues to show that he is slipping even more and he should not be out there as a hero when he is basically drunk. We close this chapter on the same thing that started this video, where you have the same reporter coming out to Ben Yurich and asking to publish a story about Daredevil, this time being about how Daredevil has become more violent and is brutally beating people down, and you still have Ben Yurich saying no since Daredevil is a close friend of his. This makes the reporter mad and leaves the office, but it continues to show that Frontline is becoming very biased on what it publishes, just like the Daily Bugle. But the second chapter continues with the idea that Matt Murdock is becoming more brutal as a crime fighter. We pick up with him going after some thugs. He begins to beat down on them because these thugs decide to steal a lady's purse and they cut the lady in the face. So of course that makes Daredevil very angry and begin the process of beating down on them so bad that it makes the lady run away scared. You then have Luke Cage appear, and with Luke Cage being here, it is more of Luke Cage kind of telling Matt Murdock that he is being too dangerous and he needs to calm down. Also, of course, he has heard what was going on with Daredevil and came here to be as a friend. There was another reason why Luke Cage came here, except before he is able to tell Daredevil what he wants, Daredevil disappears, and of course now Luke Cage has to find him again. For Luke Cage, if he is unable to get a hold of Matt, then you go to the next person who could be able to reach Matt Murdock, which is Dakota North. Honestly, I thought he would go for Foggy Nelson. This makes sense though, because she is a private investigator and she needs someone like Matt to help him out with a certain case about someone from Luke Cage's part of town. So you have Dakota North going to visit Becky Blake and Foggy Nelson to tell them about what Luke Cage wanted, which was that there is a man named Ben Donovan who is in jail because he killed 3 kids. The police assumed it was the father, but the father went missing. So you would think the cops would go look for the father of the 3 children that were killed. Well, they don't, because this guy, Ben Donovan, came out and said that he was the one who killed the kids, which of course made people automatically believe him and took him to prison and closed the case, gave up looking for the 3 kids' father and just took Ben Donovan to jail. Except you have Luke Cage tell Dakota North that Ben is a bad guy, but He's not someone who would kill children. So, to Luke Cage, he is covering something up. Now, Foggy Nelson and Becky Blake think it is a bad idea to take this case, except for Dakota North, this is the case they need to get Matt Murdock out of his funk. Which right now, that is what Matt Murdock needs, because we see him at his house and he is trying to clean the house to get rid of the smell of Amelia Donovan, except of course with his enhanced senses, he can still smell his wife in the apartment. It makes him cry and makes him slip deeper into the depression that he is currently in at the moment. Now, Dakota North begins to work on this case first by herself. She goes to see her detective friend who is going to be around for a while in Daredevil comics, Detective Kurtz. But you have him tell Dakota North everything that Luke Cage had told her earlier. The only difference is that the police and some law enforcement think that maybe Ben Donovan only agreed to be guilty of the murder because he is holding on to some kind of information. Maybe that he was forced, except Ben Donovan still says he was the one who committed the murder. Also, he says that Ben Donovan converted to religion to show that he is trying to be forgiven for his sins. Then this leads to Dakota North going to visit Ben Donovan in jail and also recording their conversation, hoping to have him slip up and say something that could help him get out of prison. Maybe say who is making him taking the hit for the murder of the 3 children. Sadly though, this is a man who is trying to hide something, but also because he's being forced to hide something. So he doesn't tell her anything at all about if he is innocent. Now, after she does that, well, of course, she goes out thinking about what her next move can be. Where can she start to undig some information that could help Ben Donovan? But when she leaves a random diner where of course she got some food, that is when someone attacks her because she started digging around the Ben Donovan case. And this man tells her that she should stay out of it and leave everything alone, which of course is going to make her dig even more. But with her getting attacked by some random guy, it makes her go over to Matt Murdock's house to tell him about what had happened. Also to tell him the reason why she was attacked, which of course was because of the Ben Donovan case. So this is the moment you have her tell him everything and try to tell him that he should really help out with this case. Really, she doesn't give him an option when it comes to yes or no to helping with the case. More of you should help out with this case and that is final, which of course after Matt sees how badly she was beaten and learns what is going on with the case, he of course looks down and finally says yes to himself and gets to work at looking at the case. Now with Dakota North actually recording her conversation with Ben Donovan, it actually gives Matt Murdock the ability to listen in to Ben Donovan's voice. Because remember, Matt Murdock has enhanced hearing, and that gives him the ability to hear if someone is lying, which Matt Murdock could tell that Ben Donovan was lying. So he goes to the prison and tells Ben Donovan that he is going to take over the case. Now, this meeting doesn't go as Matt Murdock thought it would go, or how we would think it would go. Because you would think that with Matt Murdock going to someone who was wrongfully charged, he is known across the world as the best lawyer to get those people out of prison. Also, Matt Murdock still has the world thinking that he is Daredevil. So of course, when he walks in, Ben Donovan thinks of Matt Murdock as Daredevil. Except when Matt tells Ben that he knows Ben is innocent, well, Ben goes crazy and begins to yell that he was the one who killed the children, and making it seem that someone is listening, that if he goes around saying that he is innocent of the crime he is being charged for, someone could come after him. Then, to top it off, you have him actually attack Matt Murdock, which of course the guards rush in and grab Ben Donovan to make him stop, but also it gives Matt motive to figure out what is going on here. With Matt Murdock enhanced senses, it tells Matt that Ben Donovan is hiding something. Then you have Matt Murdock go and visit Dakota North, who is with Luke Cage at her apartment. Also, we learned Dakota North was a model, but she quit to become a private investigator. We don't know why, but she did. Either way, you have Matt Murdock come by and tell Luke Cage and Dakota North that he knows Ben Donovan is hiding something. What he is hiding is a big mystery, and Matt Murdock has no idea what it could be. But he is hiding something. What Matt is saying, it sounds more like Ben Donovan is hiding the truth because he is terrified of someone. He is not terrified of being on death row. He is more scared of something else, and Matt Murdock is going to figure out what. Then there is a page where you have Dakota North go back to the diner where she was attacked. With her going there, she is able to ask the owner of the diner if maybe he has seen something. Of course, he says no, but he tells her that he has cameras that were installed on the outside of the place. So he tells her that she can take a look at his cameras to figure out who attacked her. Now, this leads us into her going back to the police station to talk to Detective Klutz about who this guy could be, because she only has a picture of the guy that had attacked her, except while she is talking to Klutz about who this guy could possibly be, that is when you have another cop come by and just says the guy's name is Moss. That's all we got. We did not get any more about him, but of course, this is a good start for Dakota North to figure out what is going on with Donovan Ben and also the case of the 3 dead children. The story switches over to Matt Murdock meeting up with Ben Yurich at some other kind of diner. They sit apart from each other just in case anyone is watching Matt Murdock and tries to come after Ben Yurich. This is Matt making sure Ben will still be safe, because Dakota North was barely attacked just for asking around when it comes to the Ben Donovan case. Now you have Ben Yurich tell everything Matt already knows, and really everything we already know, because Ben Yurich points out that he was covering the story when it was originally going on. The only new information we get is that Ben Donovan worked at the docks, which makes Matt think about checking out the docks for more information. We skip back to Dakota North, who goes after the Moss guy, the one who attacked her for just asking questions about Ben Donovan. We see him riding his motorcycle, and then she makes him fall off of it so she can question him. Then that leads into her asking him questions, hopefully that she can finally learn more information. The only thing she learns is that Moss works for the feds, and he is not going to say anything. He says if he does, well, someone will come after him and kill him. So she has to leave with basically learning nothing. Now, when Dakota North gets home, well, when she walks in, she comes to find out that her father is there waiting for her, where the only thing he tells her is that she has no idea how much trouble she is in now. While that was going on, you have Daredevil going to a random bar that is usually known for criminal activity. Also, this bar may have some connections to the docks. So it is Daredevil hoping he can learn more about what is going on at the docks from someone here. The problem is none of these guys are talking, or maybe not now, but Daredevil is not going to stop until someone tells him what he wants to know. The problem is that there was a guy who was watching from outside of the bar and seeing what Daredevil was doing to those guys in the bar. That leads into him going to a phone, calling up someone named Lloyd to tell him what was happening at the bar. Then Lloyd goes on to tell his boss what Daredevil was doing, and we find out it is a guy named Mr. Slaughter. Before we can learn more about Mr. Slaughter, we have to jump back over to Dakota North because her father has stopped by to talk to her, except when she thinks this conversation is about her quitting her life as a model and becoming a private investigator. That is when her dad tells her no, that he came here to tell her that he is here to warn her that she needs to stay away from the Ben Donovan case. His reasoning is that it affects national security. So this is us finding out that Dakota North's father, and his name is Samuel North, works for the government. It is him now telling his daughter to leave this case alone. Now for Ben Donovan, who we have not seen in a while, well, we plus Matt Murdock and Foggy Nelson finding out that someone tried to kill Ben Donovan in his prison cell, except it was made to look like he was trying to kill himself. But the prison guard were able to save him before he had to kill himself. Then you have Ben tell Matt Murdock that he needs to stop or they are going to kill Ben. Of course, Matt doesn't want to hear that because he's still trying to deal with the idea that his wife is in a mental institution. This is when you have Becky North, Matt Murdock, Foggy Nelson, and Dakota North meeting up back at the office to talk about everything they have gathered and how Dakota's North father has come to warn her and the others to stop digging into this case. Of course, you have Matt saying no and making sure that everyone agrees with his decision to continue to figure out what is going on with the Ben Donovan case. While they think of what their next move should be, we can see from a few blocks down the road, someone is listening in on their conversation, telling us that someone has bugged Matt, Foggy's, Dakota, and Becky's office. This gives us a moment to see Matt's thinking about how this case is helping him keep his mind away from thinking about Milia, because of course Matt still blames himself with her being in a mental institution. Either way, you have Matt telling us he knows that he needs to change into Daredevil so that he can figure out what is going on with the Ben Donovan case. While you have Matt Murdock out there being Daredevil, hoping to learn more about this case, you have Becky Blake and Dakota North looking into the finances of Ben Donovan to find out that something is wrong here. For a long time, he was kind of a guy that didn't have a lot of money. Then out of nowhere, he was getting money, but all of the money was going into a trust fund. The question is how far back this goes and who does this account belong to? Getting back to Daredevil, we see him going to see Turk. Turk being this guy who is a low-level thug and usually always doing things for the current kingpin of New York. Well, Daredevil goes to him knowing that he should have some information, which is who is currently running the docks. Well, that is when Turk tells Daredevil that it is Mr. Slaughter, and we learn that it is an old Daredevil character that really is a mobster, meaning that the docks is run by a mobster. Except Turk says no, Slaughter is supposed to be a good guy now and running a legit business. Of course, Daredevil knows there is no way that is true. We then get a quick page that shows us that Dakota North goes to figure out where the money Ben Donovan got is going to. We come to find out that Ben Donovan has a son and his name is Benjamin Donovan. Before we can learn more about the son of Ben Donovan, you have the story jump over to Daredevil going to the docks because he knows that there is no way that Mr. Slaughter is a good guy now. Which of course, when you have Daredevil arrive at the docks and takes out all of the guards that are trying to stop him, once that is done, he goes on to ask Mr. Slaughter what is going on with Ben Donovan. But then you have Mr. Slaughter reveal that there's a sniper out there ready to shoot and kill Daredevil. To make things even worse, well, we come to see Dakota North leaving, figuring out so much information about Ben Donovan and his son Benjamin Donovan that Ben Donovan's money has been put into his son's trust fund, Benjamin Donovan, and Benjamin Donovan had no idea. He thought it was money from the football scholarship. While she is leaving, someone outside in the streets actually shoots at her after she had called Becky Blake about what she learned, leaving us wondering if she is going to survive. So with the last two things happening, which of course is Dakota North being shot and Matt Murdock being targeted by a sniper while he was trying to interrogate Mr. Slaughter so he can learn what is the true secret behind what is going on here at the docks and maybe learn more about Ben Donovan. Except of course you have some paramedics come and take Dakota North to the hospital. Also, you have Daredevil being able to escape, but with the sniper that was almost about to kill, it tells Daredevil that Mr. Slaughter is up to something. The question is, what? All he knows is that it has everything to do with Ben Donovan. Now, when Matt Murdock gets to his house thinking that he is going to have some downtime, that is when he gets a call from Foggy Nelson to tell Matt Murdock that they are at the hospital because of what had happened to Dakota North. This leads to Matt Murdock getting there, and of course he is blaming himself for this, saying this is his fault that Dakota North is in the hospital. And then you have Becky Blake just snap on Matt Murdock and tell him not everything that goes wrong is because of him, even though a lot of things that have gone wrong is because of him. This time it's really not his fault, since it was Dakota North who originally took the case and was the one who got Matt to help her dig into the case to see what in the world is going on with Ben Donovan. When Matt Murdock gets outside, he is confronted by Samuel North, the father of Dakota North. You have Samuel North try to blame Matt Murdock for the reason why his daughter is in the hospital, except you have Matt snap back quickly at Samuel to show him that this is not Matt's fault for what had happened, that it is Samuel's fault since Samuel had a hand in what is happening to Ben Donovan, stating that since this is government business and that Samuel is in the government, then it is clear Samuel has a hand for what is going on with Ben Donovan, in which an innocent man is going to die now. That made Dakota North upset. So no, it's clearly Samuel North's fault what had happened to his daughter. After all of that, you have Matt, of course, go on the hunt to find out who could have been behind the shooting of Dakota North, which of course, using his enhanced senses, he was able to figure out where the shooter shot the sniper that hit Dakota North. He then changes into his Daredevil outfit because he sees a van that quickly tells Daredevil that some more Fed agents could be in there or could be nearby the van. So he goes down and he finds the Moss guy again, the same guy who attacked Dakota North the first time, and it was him who shot Dakota North as well. You then have Daredevil continue to beat this man down so that he can finally learn what is going on with this case and what's going on with the docks. Why are the docks so important? They were using Mr. Slaughter as an inside man because shipments from the Middle East come through there. So it is Moss saying to Daredevil that they let Mr. Slaughter do what he wants to do because he's small. They are trying to use him for the goal to get bigger targets, which of course makes Daredevil even angrier after hearing that. With Daredevil able to learn everything, Daredevil changes back into his Matt Murdock outfit, which he is now Mr. Lawyer Guy. He goes to the prison and tells Ben Donovan that he knows everything. Of course, Ben Donovan is still trying to pretend that he has no idea what Matt Murdock is talking about, that he is guilty. That is when you have Matt tell Ben Donovan to tell that to his son to his face, which of course makes Ben Donovan cry when he sees his son Benjamin Donovan. For the plot twist of this book, we see Samuel North going to visit Mr. Slaughter to tell him that it is over. Since Samuel North is part of the government, he was able to take over the task force that was running this dock idea. His first move as the new commander of this task force, Ben Donovan gets out of jail because he is innocent. The real person who did the murder will go to jail. Come to find out that it is some guy who is second in command of Mr. Slaughter's organization. Samuel North says he will still use Mr. Slaughter as his inside man, but no more protecting murderers, just for the greater good. Of course, Matt Murdock was pulling up and overhears everything. Samuel North confirms that yes, Ben Donovan is going to be a free man and his son will be taken care of. To close on this book, you have Matt Murdock go to visit Dakota North in the hospital so that he can tell her thank you. That if it wasn't for her dragging him into this case, he will still be in some kind of funk. Matt at first thinks that she can't hear him because she is resting, except when he leaves the room, that is when she says thank you, and the book closes there. And this is where we are going to end today's video. So please hit that like button down below and also subscribe to the channel for more content to come in the near future. Also, any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But I do hope you enjoy today's video.